Hey guys, Balkan Architect here, and in today's course I'm going to be covering part 4 for this office building project that we're doing. So for this office building, in the previous parts we have done pretty much a lot of these model elements. Now it's time to go and get to those fine touches, especially for the first level floor plan. So the first thing that you're going to notice that I've changed is this facade here on the exterior. So here we have an interesting facade, and I have just changed it a little bit just by adding these separations, just because this facade is made out of aluminum panels. So I show you basically how to create these little separations in the facade, and also how to align them to your mullions here on this facade, so everything looks nice. The mullion is kind of aligned with the aluminum panel, and the same thing on this side, so the whole facade looks kind of clean, and it's incorporated into the rest of the project really well. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Okay, moving on, let's go here to the first level floor plan, and this is where we have made the majority of the changes. First, we've set up the kind of the object styles and the visibility graphics for this view. So as you can see, the furniture is no longer that that expressive on this model. It's not the important part, especially for this floor plan. And also you will notice that this is a new floor plan, so we have duplicated the original one, and this is the one where we're going to be adding all of the detailing and annotation. So in this course, in this 1 hour part, I've added a lot more details. So if we zoom in here, you will notice that the walls now have correct connections, and here we also have these like vertical construction elements that are holding the wall in place. Same thing here. As you can see, all of the wall connections are now properly set up for these gypsum wallboard walls that you will find in office buildings. And pretty much all of them are kind of connected in a correct way with all of these structural elements inserted. Also, these connections over here are set up, and if we zoom in a little bit to the mullions, you're going to notice that we have created some detailed mullions and created a lot of new families that are going along with this project. Also, we've added the insulation line here and many more elements. So I show you basically in detail how you fix all of this up, how you set it up so it looks really detailed like this, and how can you basically solve all of these details within Revit. Okay, so that's what this course is going to be all about. So without any further ado, let's get into the course. Let's take a look at this facade over here. So we have this curtain wall over here, and that's pretty much all set up. But also we have this facade, and we can make some improvements to it. So let's first go here into edit type, and then let's go into structure just to see what we're working with. So I'm just going to open this up, and here, as you can see, we have this metal sheet flashing, and it's just 1 centimeter thickness, and then we have this air layer that's 3 centimeters thick. So basically the idea when I was constructing this facade was that we're going to have some sort of a panels here, and aluminum panels, and then that air layer is basically where that construction that's holding those aluminum panels is placed. Now we have this facade now in place. Now we need to add the gaps between those panels. Of course, on a facade like this, you will have some gaps between the panels. So let's model them here. Now, if you go here to the wall command on the architecture tab, open up the drop menu, and here we have an option for a wall reveal. Now, a wall reveal, as you can see, it's like it's basically like a sweep or a void sweep that's taking or removing material from your wall. So we just need to remove the material from that first layer, so we can have like something that represents a gap between two aluminum panels. So let's go here into reveal, and we have an option for a horizontal or vertical. And also here, if we open up the edit type menu, here we have the profile, and it's currently set to default. We also have some other profiles here, mostly the profiles that we have already loaded in, so nothing fancy there. If I hit just apply and OK, and if I place it here, as you can see, it's kind of large. This opening is quite large. Usually gaps between those panels are a lot smaller. If I were to go maybe to one of the facades, I think that this is the north facing facade. Yeah, if I zoom in and measure this gap here, as you can see, it's like 15 centimeters, and that's not good. Also, if we go to east, west, yes, let's measure this. So if I measure basically how deep it is, it's again 15.22 centimeters, which is way too large. We just need a gap in that 1 centimeter panel. So what we need to do for this now is to create a new profile for this reveal. So what I'm going to do for that is just go here to File and then go to New, Family. Now let's search for a family template that can work as our reveal profile. So scroll down until you find metric profiles, and here we have a metric profile reveal. So this is basically a metric profile for our reveal. So you can just select it, hit open, and there we go, we have our new family. So basically this is where the wall face is going to be located, this is where the wall is going to be located, and this is where we model our profile. Now I'm just going to model it using lines. Let's go with a simple rectangle that's hosted on this line, just like this. The gap is going to be 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters maybe. Well, let's go with 2 centimeters, or let's go with 1.6 maybe. So let's go 8 millimeters on this side and then 16 millimeters total. Yeah, let's go with something like that. And then for depth, it just has to be anywhere from 1 centimeter up to, or 10 millimeters up to 13 millimeters or 3 centimeters, just because that's the thickness of our air layer. So let's just go with something like 20, something neutral, and there we go, we have that reveal. Now we can get rid of this text if you want. You don't have to, but there we go. So if you want to get rid of the text, you can. Anyways, now we can load this profile in, but before we can do that, what I suggest you always do is first save it, then load it in. So just go here to File, Save As a family. Let's save it on desktop, and let's call this Reveal Profile. Hit enter, there we go. Now, once we have that name, we can load it into the project and close it off. Okay, there we go, it's loaded in. Now we can select this profile and go to the reveal, go into edit type, and here for the profile, let's search for that reveal profile, hit apply, okay, and this now looks a lot better. Now, as you can see, it's a lot thinner, we can move it around, but let's go into a section and see what that looks like in a section. So let's zoom in over here, let's try to find that. Okay, here we go, here it is, and as you can see, it's basically here, it's cutting through that initial facade, and that's what we want to have. So we have that nice profile here. Now we have to play around with those profiles a bit, so let's go to that facade. I think it was the north facade, there we go. So what I like to do with these reveals is I like to align them with the mullions. I think that kind of looks cool. So let's see, can we find the center line of the mullion? There we go, and then align that to the center line. Okay, we can't find the center line of the reveal, so let's do it maybe to the top of reveal. And then what I'm going to do is just select it. Okay, here it looks nice as well. Select it, go to copy, and then you will basically copy it from a part of your mullion. So using that mullion, let's select this here, and make sure that multiple is selected, and then copy it down. One of them here, here, and then here we have a couple. Here as well. And here we don't really need it because that's basically where the wall ends. Okay, so we have these reveals now in place. We can do the vertical ones as well. Now for the vertical ones, you can kind of try to mimic the this here rhythm. But first, let me select one of these levels and just move them out of the way just a little bit so we can see our facade a bit better. So let's just measure the distance here. So if I just take a look and measure from one to the other, from center to center, it's around 140 centimeters. So what I'm just going to do is go here to architecture, go to a wall, open up wall reveal, go with a vertical reveal, and let's place one here. Then select it. Okay, here we have an option to measure, and let's go with 140 centimeters, and then we can copy it, and yeah, let's just copy it by the value of 140, and then let's just repeat that. 140, 140, and there we go. Now if we just go into 3D, it will look something like this. So we have those kind of panels here even on this facade. Now let's go here to wall and reveal, and let's do the same thing on the other side. So let's do the horizontal ones first. So if they are not aligning perfectly, then just go with the align tool. AL is the shortcut, and then try to find that line. There we go. Then align it with this. I'm just using the tab key to kind of make it a bit easier on me to align. Okay, there we go. So we have this. Now I'm just using the tab key here to select the reveal. Now let's go. I think this was the west facade. West. Yeah, there we go. So now what you can do is just go again to copy, multiple, and then you click here, and then you just move it down to the existing reveal. So there's this one here, this one here, this one here, and a couple of more down below. There we go. So we have those in place. Now let's do the vertical ones. So let's go again to wall, wall reveal, and let's go with the vertical one. Place it here. Okay, select it. Then this again should be 140 centimeters, and then you can just copy that thing by the value of 140. So just extend it like this, and then do 140, 140, enter, 140, enter, 140, enter, and there we go. We have our facade. So now if we go into 3D, there we go. It looks like this. So now we have those reveals here in the on this facade as well. And of course, if you want to make any changes to that profile at any point, what you can do is you can always scroll down over here in the families. So just make sure that families here is opened up, and then search for profiles. Here we go, profiles. Let's collapse this menu. Then let's search for reveal. Reveal profiles, and here we have our reveal profile. So you can just open that, and let's see. So that's that profile that we have loaded in. So, or you can just find it on your desktop. In this case, I saved it on my desktop, and I can just open it up, and maybe here set this to. So we have 1 centimeter plus 3 centimeters. So let's go with 40 total, and then load into project and close. Save changes, of course, and then override everything. There we go. So now if we go here into a section, as you can see, it's going to have a deeper cut. Actually, I think now it looks a lot better, and it looks a lot more professional. So there we go. We have our facade, our aluminum panel facade, and it's matching the profiles here of the mullions and everything like that. So I think it looks quite cool. Now in the next few videos, I'm going to be taking a look at how can I improve this model. So we have all of the rough geometry in place right now, so it's now time to refine some elements, just to play around with the graphics a little bit and add all of the details, things like that, and just fix it up and make it look well, perfect for this phase of design. So what I'm going to be doing now is just playing around with the graphics settings. So first, let's go here into the first level floor plan. Here, this is the first level floor plan. I'm just going to turn off the thin lines option, so all of the lines are thick. Now, one thing that I like to do before I start playing around with details, for example, here we have to fix up these walls and just to add some wall construction, things like that. What I don't like the fact that the furniture looks like this. So if we zoom in, furniture has a lot of lines. It can look quite dark, and it can take away from the design. Furniture is usually not something that you're it's basically something that you're using just to determine the space and how the space is going to be used, but it's not like the final interior design, so we shouldn't really give that much attention to furniture. So what I like to do is I like to gray it out just a little bit, so the architectural elements will kind of pop up out of the drawing, and then all of the furniture is just there to give you an idea of how the space is intended to be used. So for that, what I like to do is just turn these to grayscale or halftone or things like that. Usually halftone, or just turn the lines to some gray lines. So how do you do that? Well, the first way you can do that is just to change it in this specific view. To do that, you can go here to Properties, and there we have a Visibility Graphics Override option. So if you go there, and now you can go ahead and change the Visibility Graphic Overrides for some of the elements. So for example here, let me just close this off and maybe move it out of the way like this. So the model is going to be in this part of the screen. Now if I go here to VG, of course you can type in VG to get that Visibility Graphics Overrides. Here we go. And now I can go ahead and search for example, furniture. Here we go, furniture, and then for furniture we have this halftone option. Now I can hit apply, and as you can see, a lot of this furniture has turned to halftone. So all of these tables, the chairs, things like that. Here these tables are not. I think they are categorized as furniture systems. So if I turn this to halftone and hit apply, as you can see now that went gray. Now also we have some elements here in the bathroom and here in the kitchen as well. These are probably something like either plumbing or maybe specialty equipment, things like that. You really have to look into the categories. So let's try specialty equipment, hit apply. There we go, now the kitchen is grayed out. And then let's go to plumbing fixtures. Plumbing fixtures, here we go, check that, apply, and as you can see, a lot more elements have gone to grayscale. Now if you can't or to halftone. Now if you can't really determine what are some of the elements, what are the categories, what you can always do is just go ahead and select some of the elements. For example, just go ahead and select this, and here it will say specialty equipment. So when you go into your Visibility Graphics Override Visibility Graphics Override dialog, you know which category you should turn to halftone. Now this is okay, but the problem is if I now go to second level, it's all dark again. Also, if I go here into a section, again, these are quite dark. So all of the changes that we have made are basically applied only in this first level floor plan. Now, this is okay if you're just doing it for that one floor plan, but if you want to do it, for everything, it makes sense to do it in global settings. So basically, in project settings, you don't want to affect just this view. You want to affect how the furniture and all of these other elements will be viewed in the whole project. So before we can get into that, what I'm going to do first is just go here into Visibility Graphics Overrides and just basically undo all of the changes that I have made just during this demonstration. So that's specialty equipment, and I think that's it. Hit apply, okay, and as you can see, everything is back to dark. So to change the global settings for this project, what you can do is go here to Manage, your Manage tab, and here we have the Object Styles. Now the Object Styles dialog is basically affecting the whole project, not only the view that's currently active, in this case the first level floor plan, but the whole project. And as you can see, it's a bit different. It's not like the VG overrides. We don't have that halftone option. That's an override, and this is kind of the settings for the whole project. But don't worry, it's simple enough to make any changes. So what I'm going to do is scroll down, find furniture. Let's see. Okay, here we go, furniture. Now the options that you have is either change the thickness of the lines. Now here they are set to 1, so that's the thinnest line of them all, so we can't really make any changes there. What we can do is change either the line pattern or we can change the line color. I'm happy with the pattern. I like the pattern to be determined by the family itself, but I want a color to be a bit lighter. So let's go here to furniture, open up the line color dialog, and here let's put either this gray or this gray. I'm going to go with maybe this one for the beginning. Turn it on, and as you can see now everything is a bit lighter. Now let's scroll down, find that. Now let's try the other one. Let's try this really light gray. Hit apply. Now as you can see, I think this looks even better. We can still kind of make out the furniture, but it's again, it's just giving us the idea of how the space is going to be used and nothing more, which I actually really like. So let's leave that as is. Now here for the rest of these, let's see, furniture systems. So furniture systems, here we go, change that to the same color. Also do the same thing for plumbing fixtures. And I think specialty equipment is also one of the categories that we decided to change, so let's change that as well. Hit apply. Okay, and there we go. So we have made the change for a complete project. Now here we have these are categorized as generic models. Now a good idea would be to change that to something different, and also, okay, these for some reason, okay, this is furniture system. For some reason it didn't go gray, so let's check that out again. Specialty equipment, furniture systems. Okay, maybe because it's grouped or something like that. Yeah, that's a furniture system. Let's see, if I ungroup it, no, doesn't change. Okay, well, this for some reason doesn't want to be affected by that furniture system override, because here, as you can see, it is overridden. But here we have generic models, and these here cabinets are generic models, so it's a good idea to change those as well. Now, it would be ideal to change it to something else, just because you might model something else as a generic model, and then you would like to have that appear the right way. But there we go, we have changed this, and now it looks correct. Let's go to second level now, and as you can see, on the second level we have the same changes, but of course we have the same problem here with these with the desk. So that's a furniture system, and even though I have made that change, it still doesn't work. So it's either a bug with the system or something like that. An easy fix for something like this is then to go into VG overrides and then just fix it in the views where it's where it's making a problem. So let's see, furniture systems. Here we go, and if I turn grayscale on this, yeah, now it will look a lot better. So just make that change in the VG overrides. The good thing is that in this here, for example, section, you don't have to make that change just because it's not visible there. So let's just go back into level 1, and here I'm just going to type in VG to get to VG overrides, and let's just make that change here. Okay, there we go. So that's how you make global changes or local changes for your project. VG overrides, or visibility graphics overrides, will override only the view in which you're at. And of course, object styles dialog, this one over here, will make global changes for the whole project. So as you can see, even if we go into a section, this is now in that gray color. At this point, I would like to start adding a lot more detail and perhaps some annotation elements to this floor plan, and just to start adding all of that technical information that's necessary for these types of floor plans. So what I'm going to do for that is create a new floor plan, or actually duplicate this one. So I'm just going to go here to the floor plans in the project browser, find my 01 first level floor plan, right click on it, and then go here to duplicate view. Now you have an option to go duplicate or duplicate with detailing. At this point we don't really have any detailing on this, so you can just go with the duplicate. Now if you were to add some detailing elements like some annotation, text, tags, things like that, detail elements, symbols, then I guess I suggest you go with duplicate with detailing. But this being without any of those elements currently, I'm just going to go here to duplicate. Okay, so once we have that, we have this first level floor plan copy 1. Let's just right click on that and go to rename, and I'm just going to do a little dash and call it detail and annotation. Okay, so we do have now this new floor plan, and now we can start playing around with some detailing elements. So the first thing that I want to get into are these these separation walls. So here we have these interior walls that are between all of the offices and just on the interior of the whole office layout. Now these walls, as you can see, are currently, their construction is, if I just select one of them and go here into edit type and go here into edit structure, so we have some rigid insulation in the middle, and then we have gypsum wall boards on both sides. Now rigid insulation isn't really enough to hold this wall, and gypsum wall boards also are not a structural element or material, so we can't really call any of these elements structural. So what do we do basically when we have walls that that look like this? We have some profile elements, some they're usually made out of some folded sheet metal, things like that, and we have those profiles running along these walls, and they're basically adding the structural rigidity to these walls. Now we can't really make them as part of these walls, but what we can do, we can add them as detail elements. So let's just do that. So what I'm going to do first is turn on the thin lines option, and later on we can change the scale, maybe from 1 to 100 to 1 to 50. This being such a large office with a lot of details, it might be a good idea. You see, when I turn off thin lines again, now this is a lot more visible, but let's leave thin lines on for now. So as I said, this is 6 centimeters. Also, I sometimes like to double check just by measuring the middle layer, just to make sure that I know what I'm working with. Okay, so once we know that the dimensions of this thing, now it's time to create that profile. Now that profile will be modeled as a detail element family. So if I go here to annotation, here we have the detail lines, detail components, and if I open up the drop menu, we have detail component or repeating detail component. And I want to use both functions, so I need to create some sort of a detail component. As you can see, this is a detail item like this. This is a profile, but of course this is way too large for what we're working with. So let me just go back to modify, and let's go to File, New, and create a new family for that detail component. So just go here to Family, and then let's search for Detail Component. Detail Item. So we have 2 of these, and I'm just going to go with the regular detail item. Open that up. Here we go, and it basically just looks like this. So we have option to use lines, detail components, symbols, masking regions, filled regions, and some annotation, and also a few more tools that are kind of basic with Revit. What I just want to do is just use this to create that profile. So first let's start playing around with lines, and let's do the outline just like this. So basically the thickness of the wall is 6 centimeters. That means 30 millimeters on each side of this thing, so that's 60 in total. So that's something that looks like this. Now the whole length of this thing, I want it to be kind of similar to the thickness, so let's go with 60 as well here, and then we can just drag this over until it snaps into position. Okay, so it looks like this at the moment. Now what I like to do is just add a bit more details. So let's say it kind of goes here at the angle of, I don't know, 45 degrees. Then it can go like this. I don't know, it can be 5 millimeters thick. And then let's use actually the offset tool and give it a 5 millimeter offset on both sides, and I'm actually going to finish it just on one side and then mirror it to the other side. So what you can do is just cap it over here, go with trim and extend, and trim it like this, and then later on we're just going to trim it to the other side. And actually thinking about it, 5 millimeters might be too thick. Let's go with 3. I think it's a lot more realistic for a profile like this. Okay, 3 millimeters there. And here let's do one more like elbow here, something like this. Again, along the angle of 45 degrees, kind of like this. Perhaps move it off. I'm just using the arrow keys to position this, and I'm happy with the way this looks right now. So what I'm just going to do is, or maybe make it a bit larger. There we go, like that. Okay, and now just go back to create lines and then offset. 3 millimeter, and let's do something that looks like that. Okay, now I'm just going to use the split element tool, so SL, or go here and find on the modify tab your split element tool and just split it here and here. Now let's see what would this look like. So just do something like this. There we go, and trim it here. Okay, there we go, and let's just trim this. I think this looks decent enough, so we do have some sort of a half profile. Now let's mirror it on the other side, so just MM, or just go here to mirror with the pick axis option, pick the axis, and then just delete this middle part. Okay, there we go. So we have our profile here modeled, and once we have this, we can just save it. So I'm just going to go here to save, and let me save this on desktop, and let's call it interior wall construction profile. There we go, and it's 6 centimeters, so let's leave that in. Okay, so we have this profile, and now we can load it into the project, so just go load into project and close. Okay, so once this is done, we have this detail component, and as you can see, if I go here to annotate component, there we go, we have that component. Now we're at the ground level, let's move to first level. There we go. Or actually we want to go to first level detail and annotation. Just make sure you don't mess those two up. So I'm just going to close it off here just to make sure I don't accidentally click there. Okay, so basically around the doors you're going to place it like this, and then just hit the space key to flip it on the other side. Now looking at this, when I turn off thin lines, it's going to look like that, but when I turn on thin lines, actually looking at it, I would like to add maybe a little bit of color to it. So I'm just going to go here to edit family, zoom in a little bit, and then let's go with a filled region, and I'm going to go with do we have a solid fill black? Yes, we do. Okay, and then I hopefully can use pick lines to select the whole thing. There we go. Yeah, so I'm just using the tab key to make a selection and just hit finish. Okay, here we do seem to have some problems. Okay, just trim and extend these edges here, and then just hit finish. And there we go, now it's completely solid filled black. Now load it into the project and close, save the changes. Yes, I want to replace it, override, and there we go, now it's completely black and it looks good. Now let's see, can we turn this into a repeating detail component? So let's go here to annotate, and then let's go to component, repeating detail component, and let's go into edit type. And let's duplicate, and let's call this one what did we call it? The interior wall construction profile. There we go. And then here for the type, we need to go and search for our interior wall construction profile 6 centimeter, and fix the layout. It can be either fixed distance, or you can change it to maybe do a fixed number or maximum spacing. Actually, maximum spacing might be a good idea for this. And then here for spacing, you can go with something like, let's say you have to place this thing at each, I don't know, like 50 centimeters. So I'm just going to enter that in and hit enter. Now I'm guessing this is some sort of information that you will have to get from your manufacturer, but I'm just gonna winging it for this project, just to make sure we create something that looks good for now. Okay, so let's select this one and kind of adjust the distance perhaps just a little bit so it looks more realistic. Actually, I'm going to align it with this wall, and then on this wall I can create a new just regular detail component that kind of snaps on to this detail component. So it looks like here we have that kind of a construction that's kind of going from one wall to the other. And basically that's what you do. So you go all the way around your model, and then you place these detail components. First, I like to place them at each kind of end of the wall or intersection. Keep in mind that I'm using the space key to kind of flip it around. And once you've placed like all of these kind of points or edges, then what you just do is go here to your repeating detail component, and then you just go from, let's go from here and then all the way to this end over here, just like that. And then just adjust the first one to make this gap look realistic. So I guess it can work with this distance. So there we go. Now our wall construction looks a lot more realistic. Now, one of the problems that will occur when working like this, and when we take a look at this here, for example, this here connection, usually you wouldn't attach walls to each other like this. Rarely do walls kind of flow into each other. Rarely do you have your your main material go, or your structural material or insulation go like this straight through the other wall. These are gypsum walls, and you're usually not going to have this. So what you're going to have in this case is kind of this gypsum wallboard material. It's going to be running all the way through here. Now, if we try to disconnect this or attach it there, it's going to automatically connect, so that isn't really an option. So what you can do in that case to fix that up is, let's go ahead over here and maybe make a change. Let's move this out a little bit. And let's start playing around with this wall join. So to change the wall join, you need to go here to your modify tab and go to your geometry panel, and here we have the wall join tool. It looks kind of like this, and as you can see, we have multiple wall joins that we can play around with. Now I'm just going to select that and kind of hover over the over this connection of two walls, and as you can see, we have this rectangle that basically allows us to select the wall join. And once the wall join is selected, you're going to notice that here we have this separation, and now we have some options. Now these being simple walls, we don't really have many options. We can't really toggle through the options, which you can do in some different walls or in some different connections. You can't really choose between the butt meter or square off. The only option that we have is to allow join or disallow join, which we don't want to do. If we disallow join, it will look like this, and that's not something you want to have. So let me go back. But we do have the display options, and here we can display it as clean join, don't clean join, or use view settings. So let's try with don't clean join, and this is what you're going to get. So it looks like this, and that's actually the correct way that these walls would appear in real life. Now let's try selecting this one, go with the same option. There we go. So in this case, this wall was then created first, constructed first, and then the rest of these walls were constructed. And now you can take these elements and kind of attach them to the edge. And of course, here you can go to the annotate tab, go with your component, detail component, and place one here. I'm just using the space key to rotate. And also here, if you have this join over here, you're probably going to have some sort of a profile element inserted here as well, just so we can screw this thing to this vertical element to have a more sturdy construction. So there we go. That's the approach to doing these walls, and of course it's going to take a bit of time. Of course here you might want to do the same thing, and also this wall join doesn't probably look right, so you would go here to modify and then wall joins, hover over this, and let's try that. Don't. And here we go, looks correct. First we're going to cover this wall and then attach this wall to it, and then of course you would go to your annotate tab and go and place a component here, kind of screw it into the concrete. Let's see, do we have any more interesting details like that? I don't think so. Yeah, I think the rest of them are quite basic, or they're pretty much similar. Okay, here we might have something different, so let's kind of move this here. Let's see. Okay, everything looks correct here. So this wall is going to be a bit wider. The reason for that is because it's the wall that's connecting this or basically it's an exterior wall. Here we have the exterior of the building. So for this type of a wall, we will have to create a new profile. So what you can do in that case, and let me just minimize Revit for a second, and here we have our profile, the 6 centimeter one. So I'm just going to go Control-C, Control-V to copy and paste that, and here we have a new one. It's called copy, and let's change this number here. But before we can do that, I'm just going to open Revit up once again and then just measure this thing. So let's measure from here to here. Okay, so it's 12 centimeters, and let's just keep that number in mind. So let's just rename this one to delete the copy, and change this from 6 to 12, open that up, and here it is, it's opened up in Revit. And now what we need to do is just kind of move this along. So let's just go to move, and we need to move it 3 centimeters out, or 30 millimeters out. There we go. Same thing with this thing. Move it 30 millimeters out. And now we have to readjust our filled region. Now what I suggest you do is just go to edit boundary and then delete everything, and then go with pick lines, hover over the interior lines to get the interior ones, then hover over one of the exterior ones, hit the tab key to select all of them, and there we go. Hit escape a few times, go into trim and extend, and then just trim and extend this, trim and extend that, and that should be it. There we go. So we have now this larger profile. We can load it into the project and close it off. Let's save the changes, of course. And here we go. Again, when we load this into the project, I guess Revit defaults to the ground level, it being the kind of the 0, 0 level. But of course, let's go to our first level detail and annotation and place this thing over here. Place it on the other side here. There we go. And then we can use it also to create that detail component or repeating detail component. So just go here to repeating detail component, edit type, duplicate. Let's add the 12 centimeter to the title, and let's change it to the 12 centimeter type. Hit OK, and then you can place it here. Place it kind of like that. In between those, or actually you can delete this one and then stretch this off here all the way to the edge. Oops. There we go. And this looks correct. Also, you can measure from here to here, and then as you can see it's 50, so you know that could work. Okay, there we go. So we have all of our we have these profiles in check, but I will have to go ahead and just go through all of the other profiles and add them in. So maybe add that 6 centimeter profile here attached to this concrete wall. Same thing on the other side, and just go through the whole model and fix everything up, and of course fix all of these wall joints that we have just by going to the modify tab and then changing it to don't clean join. And there we go. Okay, so just take your time and finish your whole floor plan. Let's take a look at a couple of more of these join conditions that we can kind of play around with and set up correctly. So if I zoom in over here for this exterior wall, just because we have this wrapping, it looks like this. Now it looks a bit odd. That's just because it's connected to the wall on the bottom, so that's probably why it looks so different. Just because, as you can see here in the basement, we have this different like foundation wall, so that's the reason why it can get a little bit weird, just because it's connected vertically to that wall, and then that's why it might be having a bit of reactions here on the corner, especially in our floor plan. But anyways, there's of course a way that we can fix this and set this joint up. So let's do the first one, this one, and then we can play around with this one. So you just zoom in, and again you use the same command. So you go to the modify tab, you go to the joint geometry tool or the wall joint tool, and you select it, and then you hover over this joint. Now keep in mind that this isn't a simple joint between two walls. This is actually between three walls. So you have your exterior wall, you have your interior like construction wall, and then you also have your curtain wall over here. So just keep that in mind. Then you select this thing, and then you can play around here. Now of course we have some configuration options, and we can toggle through those options. So you just go here and hit next, and then you can toggle through those options, whatever we have. So I'm not really concerned with which one of these walls will go through, but I'm happy with the fact that insulation goes up to here and then stops. So I'm just going to go back to modify. Now of course I don't like the fact that our curtain wall stops here, so I'm just going to extend it up to this point and then just deselect, and there we go. So this is kind of leaning up against this this wall, and there's no like cold air bridge there. Okay, let's move on to the second one. So here for this one, it's the same approach. So you just go here to Geometry on the Modify tab and go to the Wall Join tool. You hover over the connection until you get this big rectangle you selected, and then let's toggle through this selection to see what we have. And I'm happy with this one. Yeah, this one can work. So you just go back to Modify, and there we go. We have fixed this connection, and now it actually looks correct. So there we go. Now let's take a look at these mullions that we have here. So if I zoom in here to the facade, as you can see here, we have the rectangular mullion, and this doesn't really look detailed. Even though we're at fine level of detail, we don't really get any detail from here. And usually these mullions are very complex inside. They are very complex, like metal profiles, and I would like to basically recreate that to have a completely detailed drawing. Now ideally you would get that from the manufacturer. Now in this case we're going to just fake it, create our own mullion profile, but if you were working on a real project, I suggest you go to the manufacturer. Now, when talking about these mullions, currently we're using the rectangular ones that come with Revit. So if you go here to your project browser, scroll down, here you have your families, and if you expand that family menu, scroll down, and here we have curtain wall mullions. And now if we scroll down over here, we have rectangular mullions, and then we have the 50 by 150 millimeter. Now if we open that up, you can see that here we can actually make some adjustments to that mullion. We can change the thickness, make it basically longer, this profile, make it longer or thicker by changing the dimensions here. Now this is really nice when working on projects like this, because you can actually okay, let's cancel out of this, because you can actually change these mullions, and that's I find that really cool. But the problem is when you want to add detail by basically incorporating a detail component inside of this mullion profile family, the problem is we can't really have a parametric mullion that changes its size. So even though which I'm going to be doing to show you how to create a detailed mullion is something that you would ideally do from the start, and you would have the manufacturer's mullion. You would first determine the manufacturer, and then you would go into this. I'm going to show you a way that you can kind of do it later on and fix it up and make it look make it look just perfect. Okay, so to do so, we have to create a new mullion family that is going to be replicating these dimensions. So it doesn't have to be replicating these dimensions, but I prefer it to kind of have the same dimensions. It's just going to make it easier. We don't have to really fix anything up later on. So anyways, let's just select one of these mullions, or we don't really have to. Let's create a new mullion family, or mullion profile family. So for that, we need to go here to File and go to New. Here we have New Families. Open that menu up, and here we have to choose a template. And what I like to do is search here for profile families. Here we go, and here we have the metric profile mullion family. So this is the one that we want to use. So what you want to do is open that family up. It looks like this. So you have your interior side here, exterior side here, and this is basically where you're going to be modeling your family. Now keep in mind that these mullion families have to be simple. So all of the detail, all of those folded metal profiles, things like that, that comes later on. First, we have to do just a simple profile for a simple extrusion for your 3D views. The rest of these are kind of section views and detail views. So basically just go here for a line and just do the same rectangle that we already have over there. Now I already know the dimensions, so here half of it is 75. And the full length is 150 millimeters, and the thickness is half of it, it's 25 millimeters, and the full thickness is 50 millimeters. And there we go, we have this mullion. So now this is only one part of the mullion. This is only the kind of the extrusion. This is the active mullion, but we also need to incorporate a detail component here. So if you go here to the Create tab, we have the detail component tool, so we can create a new Revit detail component and then place it over this mullion, and then that detail component will appear in floor plans and sections whenever this mullion is being cut by the plan. Okay, so let's go back here. So we have this mullion here, and let's go here to File and create yet a new family. So just go here to New Family, and let's search for a different type. So now we're not really creating a mullion profile, we're creating a detail item. So that's the family you want to select. So once this is selected, let's go back here, select this geometry, and just go Control C to copy it, and then we can just paste it over here. And yeah, you can kind of paste it in the same place. If you can't align it, what you can do, you can place it, and then just by using the Move tool, kind of move it in the correct position just to make sure that it's centered. Okay, so now we have this kind of the outline. That's what we want to have. Now to get the proper dimensions, what I like to do is go back to our floor plan and then do some measuring. So I'm just going to take the measure tool and then measure from here to here, and as you can see, it's 22 centimeters and 55 millimeters, or 25.5 millimeters. Or here, if we measure this is 50.5 millimeters. So just remember those two numbers because we're going to need them. So when we go back here, now this is the detail item family. Okay, go to create, go to line, and then let's do a couple of lines here. And these will basically tell us where the position of that glass piece is. So this should be 25.5. And this measuring from this edge should be 50.5. There we go. Okay, so once we have this in place, let's go back to create. Let's go to line, and let's do something that looks like this. So we're just trying to mimic like the basic mullion. So let's go with 10 millimeters here. This should then be 20. Okay, looks perfect. Okay, now let's go with the split element tool and split it here, here, oops, here, and here. And then just using trim and extend, let's trim and extend that to shape. There we go. It's almost taking shape like a real mullion. Now what I'm going to do is go back to create, go to line, and then just use the pick lines tool with an offset of 4 millimeters, and then just do some offsets here, as you can see, just like this. There we go. I think this looks nice. Okay, let's go with the line tool, maybe like this. Oops, I don't want that. So just make sure you turn off the offset, bring it down to 0. Okay, so just type in 0. There we go. Do one line here, one line here, and I don't know, let's do something here. Let's do like an arc, like that. And then let's do a 4 millimeter offset, just like that. Okay, now we have to split lines. So let's split here, and then trim and extend, just to make something that looks like a detailed mullion profile. So let's now fix this up. Okay, this one I can delete, and then go with trim and extend, just like that. And then trim and extend this, delete this one, and then again go with trim and extend, and go like this, and this, and this, and there we go. I think it's almost done. There we go. And let's just fix these two lines, and there we go. We have our detail mullion. Now it's okay. It looks okay. What I like to do is add just a little bit of color. So I do that by going here to create, and then just going to filled region, go with pick lines, and then you hover over one line, hit the tab key, and it's going to select the whole chain. So you do that, tab key, select, tab key, select, tab key, select, and the same thing for the outer line. There we go. And here for the fill color, let's go with solid fill black, and let's go into edit type, duplicate, and let's call it gray. And then let's go here and change this to, well, gray. There we go. Okay, finish, and it's gray. Okay, so I think this looks really good. So what I like to do is just save it. So go to save it, and I'm just going to save it on my desktop. Let's call this mullion detail. Detail component. Okay, hit enter to save. Now load into project and close, and you actually want to load it into this family 5. Hit OK, that's the new family that we have created, and then just place it like this over that shape. So now this is our detail component. Now you want to save that family as well, so this is going to be our new mullion, and let's call it 150 by 50 millimeters. Okay, save that. There we go. Now load it into project and close. There we go. Now this is loaded into our project. So let's go here. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do, just go here to your mullion and then open it up over here in the family. Now the reason we're doing it like this is because if you make a change here inside of families, it's going to basically globally change all of the families inside of the whole project, and that's what you want to have. So just go here to this 50 by 150, open that up to get type properties, and here under profile, just change it. It might be set to default or something like that, or the rectangular one. We just want to set it to new mullion 150 by 50, and that's the one. Hit apply, hit OK, and now if we zoom in, it's going to look like this, and there we go. Now we have this detailed mullion here. Now we can turn off the thin lines. It's going to look even nicer, and there we go. Now we have our detailed mullions loaded in, and they're holding the glass in place, and everything looks just a bit better and a bit more professional with these, well, a bit more professional mullions. Okay, so there you go. That's how you create these customized detailed mullion profiles for your office building project. One more really important thing is insulation. So here, if we take a look at this building, here we have this exterior wall. It has the insulation layer, and it's orange, or yellowish, orangish. I don't know. I guess it's yellow. Anyways, this should be insulation, and it is represented by color, but usually in architecture, it's traditional to represent it using a batting line. Same thing here. Here we have an exterior wall, but it doesn't really have any representation of thermal insulation. So it would be a good idea to enter that. So how you determine the basically your insulation is you select the wall, and then I like to go here into edit type and just open up the structure of the wall just to see how wide is the layer. So it's 15 centimeters, and let's cancel out of that, and then what I like to do is go here to the insulation tool on the annotate tab. So just go here to the annotate tab, insulation, select that, and there you go. You have your batting line. Now it's hard to really center it just because you have nothing really to snap to. So what I like to do is change this from center to near side, and then I like to go from this side here, if I can snap to it. Okay, let's go from here, and then of course for the width, let's change that. It was 15 centimeters. I'm going to bring it down to 14, and I'll explain that a bit later. So let's go from here, just like that. Go all the way to the other side, and I like to go straight through, just because if you end up over here and then go with the second one over here like that, you're going to be left here with this gap. So I like to fix it. One of these has to go all the way through, and keep in mind with this insulation line, it's kind of hard to select. You have to cover either over the outside, the center, or the inside. But if you go here in the middle, you won't be able to select it. So just go, I like to select it in the center, then you get this little grip point, and then you can grab it and kind of extend it all the way to the end. Select this one and just extend it like that. Now the reason why I left that extra room over here is when I turn off thin lines, you're going to notice that these lines get a bit thicker, the exterior lines. So I like to select this, and then just by using the arrow keys, just center it just a little bit. Same thing here, just move it up just a little bit, and now it looks a lot better. Same thing here, select it and then use this grip point to extend it all the way to the outside. Now when you select it, here we have this insulation bulge width, so you can change this ratio down to maybe 2. So as you can see, it's a larger, or maybe to 4, so it's smaller. I actually like either 3, or actually I like even 4. 2. I think it looks nice, the 2. It looks kind of elegant, a bit larger, but maybe a bit cleaner. So let's try that. Now it might be a bit difficult here, so you want to play around with it just a little bit to make sure that it goes all the way to the end. Okay, now let's switch to the other one. So this is the other wall that we have, and here for this one, let's go here to insulation, and then let's do a line. Now in this case, we have the center of the wall just because the insulation is going to go along the center of this line here, this kind of the repeating detail element line. Just, I'm not sure about the thickness, so let's select it, go into edit type, go into structure. Now here the rigid insulation is 12 centimeters, so I'm going to go with 11 for my batting insulation line. So just go with that. Let's go here to center. Width is going to be 11, and then let's go from here all the way to the other side, and then just select it here in the middle and bring this down to 2. I think it's going to look a bit nicer. Now what you're going to notice is here it's kind of overpowering over these elements over here. So what you can do is you can first of all send it to the back, but again it doesn't really work just because it's the same color. So what I like to do with the insulation batting line is to change the color of it just a little bit. So sometimes I like to use orange just to kind of mix it up a bit, or you can use maybe just some gray color or something like that. So anyways, what I like to do is just go here to your manage tab, and here under additional settings we can open up the drop menu and find some advanced settings as far as graphics are concerned. Now here underneath line styles you can access all of the lines that are available with Revit, and when we expand that, here just one of the lines that we can modify or change is going to be our insulation batting line, and here it is, insulation batting lines. Now we're not going to make any changes, just here under line color let's change it to this perhaps gray, or maybe this gray. I think it's going to look nicer. Apply, okay, and there we go. So we have that line here and also here. It's gray, and I think it looks a bit more elegant here than it was a bit earlier. Now we can bring this down even to 13. Yeah, and then if we center it, I think it's going to look even better. Yeah, so just play around. Now this isn't really something that's necessary to be done. This is just, I guess, one of my preferences. I think the projects just look a bit nicer and they pop just a little bit more when you set it up like this, with that little, just a slight gap between that. And there we go. Oops, okay, here we have to extend it a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that's how you enter your insulation batting lines. Now it's a good idea to go pretty much all the way through all of your floor plans and make sure that this is set up in a correct place. And one more thing, now that we have made that change, let's select this wall, go into edit type, and let's change it up a bit. So just go here into structure and go to that rigid insulation. Now it's the same one used for the exterior type of the wall as well as the interior type, and here let's change this a solid fill. Here we go. It's this one. Let's make it really light. I don't like the fact that it's that dark. Hit apply, okay, okay again, apply, okay. There we go. I think these walls now look a lot cleaner and a lot nicer. They still pop up a little bit, pop out a little bit just because of that gray color, but not too much. And if we turn on 10 lines, yeah, there we go. We have all of the detailing already done there. Okay, so that covers the batting line and the insulation lines for this type of a project. Okay guys, so we're going to end this course here. We have covered all of the kind of going into detail for this floor plan, setting everything up correctly, going over the model elements and some of these detail elements, detail components, and just how to kind of set up all of the elements. Now in the next course I'm going to be covering more of the annotation, dimensioning, and setting up the graphics for this floor plan, and then after that we're going to be moving into sections and the rest of the project documentation that's necessary for this type of a building. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for this course, please leave them in the comment section for this post. So with that out of the way, thank you for watching, and I'll see you back here with the next part of this course next week. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.